Hello everyone, welcome back to Season 4, Series 4. I always mistake season for series and series for season, Jeannine. It is
because you're British.
A living nightmare. Hello everyone, welcome back to Morgan Hasn't Seen. I am Morgan, I haven't seen things. Jeannine is here, as always, and she forces me to see things, don't you, Jeannine?
I do. It's wonderful.
It is wonderful. This is Series 4 of the show. We did finish our Will Smith Men in Black series last week, and
we did.
Thank God that's over with after the hellhole that was the episode on Independence Day.
That was fun.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
You enjoyed yourself.
Oh, I'm sure it was fun for everybody listening to me trip over my words and get all angry at myself over my own feelings towards Independence Day. It was weird.
That's the fun of this show.
It is the fun of this show.
Exposing you to new and interesting things.
So being that it is Series 4, Jeannine, and being that you like to expose me to new and interesting things in the realm of movies, what is the new and interesting series of movies, or whatever you have decided to give me for Series 4?
Well, I'm very excited to announce that this series will be on the Fast and Furious films, all leading up to the epic Hobbs and Shaw spinoff movie.
Now, the epic Hobbs and Shaw spin-off movie that nobody has seen and might be terrible, but you still suggest is epic in proportion.
I mean, have you seen the trailers? It looks completely ridiculous in the best way possible.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, okay, whatever. But yeah, that is why we're doing this series on Fast and Furious. I'm sure if anybody has listened to the show in the past few weeks will be fully aware that Fast and Furious was coming up. And
Morgan was super excited about it.
I mean, yeah, I was really excited about it, watching the silly car movies starring Vin Diesel, that I will continue to refer to this whole franchise as the silly car movies starring Vin Diesel. Despite whether I like them or don't like them, or whatever my feelings may eventually be on the whole franchise as an entire being, they will still always be the silly car movies starring Vin Diesel. But I was as excited to start with Fast and Furious as I may be, stapling my own fingers together, or
that's extreme. Come on now.
Using hot glue on my own knees to stick my knees together so I can't walk properly.
Okay, well, now that you've seen The Fast and the Furious and Too Fast, Too Furious, what are your feelings?
I mean, we should say that, actually, yes. The whole series, we're doing two of the movies each week, each episode, because there's just that many of them. God damn it.
Yes.
That it works out in the schedule with Hobbs and Shaw coming out, because we always do a bonus episode at the end of each series, and this series' bonus will be Hobbs and Shaw, right?
That's right.
There you go.
See, you know what's going on.
I know what's going on. I've got my game head on. I'm in the zone. No. Danger zone. No, that's the wrong thing.
You need to get in the zone, because it's gonna get bonkers.
I was just about to say Danger Zone, but that's Top Gun. That's a silly plane movie starring Tom Cruise, not a silly car movie starring Vin Diesel.
We'll get there. We'll get there, Morgan.
There's one movie in the Top Gun franchise. How will we possibly get there?
Oh, it could be a bonus on Mission Impossible.
No.
Because guess what, people? No. Morgan has not seen a single Mission Impossible movie.
Yes, but we all know my feelings towards Mr. Cruise.
Well, I'm sure he'll change your mind.
But he's weird.
He's very good in those movies. He's weird in his real life, not in his movie life. He is a very good actor, and he's very committed to his craft.
Oh yeah, he's very committed to his craft and his weirdness. And
he's not weird in movies.
And there starts me angering Jeannine about my feelings towards certain things for the week. And
also a part of this show.
A part of this show, yeah. A key part of this show. You being disappointed in some of my feelings towards some movies you absolutely love. Fast and Furious probably coming up in the later installments of Fast and Furious. You may be seeing a lot of Jeannine getting annoyed with me about my feelings towards, like, I don't know, the Fast and Furious 7 or whatever the stupid title of them are.
I mean, I won't get angry. I mean, I've already won just making you watch these movies in the first place. So
I mean, I guess you have
good.
This whole show is just one victory after another for you.
Exactly.
So
what do I have to be mad about?
Well, yeah, it's all on me, really. I'm the one that should be angry. Why am I not angry? I don't know anymore. But yes, Hobbs and Shaw will be our bonus episode for this whole series. We will be doing 2 Fast and Furious movies each week up to the release of Hobbs and Shaw. And this week, naturally, we're starting with The Fast and the Furious. Now, I've got to remember this as well, to always get the titles right, because all the titles are weird.
Yeah.
And they all switch on each other every time. So we're doing The Fast and the Furious and Too Fast, Too Furious. I've got to stop saying Fast and Furious because that's a whole separate movie.
Yes, that's the 4th one.
Which is weird.
With the weird timeline shift, it's complicated, so we will not get into that yet. But
I don't even want to know.
We're talking about the first 2 released Fast and Furious films.
Yeah, from the early 2000s. And we all know from the Men in Black 2 episode how much I love movies from the early 2000s.
Well, let's get into it.
Let's talk about the first one first, because that makes the most sense. It would be weird if we talked about the second one first.
So, I tried to pique your interest somewhat in this film by giving you the comparison of Point Break with Cars.
Yes.
So, did you see any parallels? Did that inform anything going into this movie?
There is parallels with Point Break. I mean, I remember when we did Point Break, that was our bonus one for the Keanu Reeves John Wick whole situation. And I really liked Point Break.
You did?
Even though maybe some parts, I don't know, maybe some parts of it were a little too really, let's take itself way too seriously for how absolutely nonsense this whole thing is. But I really liked Point Break for what it was.
I know you did. That's why I used it as a reference point to hopefully pique your interest on Fast and the Furious.
See, because you're very clever like
that.
Did it
work? But did it work?
I would say to a point it did work. Because I did see a lot of parallels between Point Break and the first Fast and Furious movie, being that Paul Walker is an undercover cop, and I had no idea. I just thought Paul Walker was, another one of these driver people that are in these movies.
No.
Because I literally know 0 things about Fast and Furious, by the way, guys, so anybody that's listening to this who is a die-hard Fast and Furious fan, be prepared to, I don't know, I don't want to say cringe at what I'm saying, because I hate the word cringe, Jeannine. Did you know that?
You do.
But maybe, like, roll your eyes at a lot of what I'm saying. Being that I...
Or scoff.
Or scoff.
Perhaps.
Scoffing is always a nice thing to do to somebody. If you ever scoffed in someone's face, it's really nice.
Or give a good what?
Or do that. But yeah, I had no idea Paul Walker was an undercover cop who was doing a very Johnny Utah situation of infiltrating the gang of criminals who are not surfers in this movie, but are in fact street racers.
Yes.
Led.
And I'd say comparatively, Paul is like the Keanu of the time.
I mean, is he?
Range-wise, I'd say. I mean, Keanu didn't have much range at that time in his career.
Keanu's also way bigger of a star.
But I just mean at that time. He was just starting out then.
Keanu had already done enough stuff by Point Break. He'd already done Bill and Ted and all that sort of stuff before Point Break. People already knew who Keanu was. Did people? I mean, I'm just
saying range-wise. He didn't do very, very varied things performance-wise in his films at that time.
I mean, truly, I don't know any other Paul Walker movie, so other than these ones. So that's just, again, my limited knowledge of movies from the 90s and the 2000s, perhaps.
What?
So you're already coming in. You're already coming in with an over-exaggerated what? Okay. Throw some Paul Walker movies at me. Exactly, you can't because he hasn't done any more. He did the Fast and the Furious ones, and then very sadly passed away in a car accident. That's what happened to that's Paul Walker.
He was in The Skulls. That was a good movie.
The what? The Skulls?
The Skulls, about a secret society at a college. Did that movie with Joshua Jackson.
Oh, God. Right, okay. Of course Joshua Jackson's in it.
That's right.
Oh, I just don't know the 1990s and the 2000s, do I at all?
He was in Pleasantville.
Oh, yeah, see, I
was nominated for Oscars.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I haven't seen all of Pleasantville.
That movie's good.
I've probably only seen about 15 minutes of Pleasantville, in truth. So,
what?
If we're gonna carry on with the over-exaggerated what's, I'm gonna at least attempt to slow them down somewhat. So.
Okay. Well, let's get back into this movie. I'm sorry, I digress.
Yeah, but Paul Walker's perfectly good in the movie. I like him, sure. I just don't think he's. I mean, I don't think you can. I don't think I can compare him to Keanu. In terms of a Keanu, I compare him in the sense of like acting level. Like Keanu could only do so many things like really well in his kind of wheelhouse at that time, I think. Yeah. And Paul Walker was similar. He's kind of a linear actor. He doesn't really do anything that's varied. He doesn't really stretch, I guess. I mean, his chops. Yeah, I agree with that in this movie. He, like I said, he's perfectly good. But it doesn't require him to do a great deal. It doesn't require anyone to do a great deal. But that's not what it's there to do. Yeah. Surprisingly to me, I found Vin Diesel to be actually my favourite character and the best performance in the first movie.
Wow. Well, I'm very curious to see how you feel about him as you see him throughout the series.
I mean, sure, because I've always had this impression of Vin Diesel as just the big hulking dude who stars in the silly car movies. That's why I call them the silly car movies starring Vin Diesel.
Yes. So I'm very interested to see how your feelings about him develop when you get to know Dominic Toretto.
Oh yeah, sure. Mr. Toretto actually did quite impress me though in the first movie. I did like that, and obviously you get Michelle Rodriguez as well, who's always in these movies.
And always playing the tough chick.
Yeah, and she's great. I mean, she's good at what she does as well. That's why you cast Michelle Rodriguez. I think probably from that maybe bit of typecasting probably comes from these movies as well. With her entire career as the like you said, the tough chick.
Yes.
Probably comes from these, but she does that really well. I mean, she doesn't have a great deal to do. Compared to the other people, but I think my biggest takeaway from the first Fast and Furious movie is actually how much I liked Dominic Toretto and Vin Diesel. Way more
Did
than
you expect?
No.
Than you expected?
Yeah,
Okay.
way more than I expected. I did not expect to enjoy him so much, and I honestly didn't expect to actually enjoy the movie so much, which is why I found myself pleasantly surprised by very much actually enjoying the first Fast and Furious movie, because I think
Yay!
and you've got to take this into account as well, guys. The only Fast and Furious movies I have currently seen are the first two. So when I say this, and I know because I've been saying this to Jeannine and she's been responding with what she will likely respond with after I say this again, I think the people in the first Fast and Furious realise that it's a ridiculous movie. And they play that very well. It doesn't do what Independence did for me last week, where it's a ridiculous movie where everybody's taking it way too seriously. This movie, Fast and Furious 1, realises it's a ridiculous movie. Everybody in it realises it's kind of a silly action movie, pure action movie that should be quite two-dimensional, and plays to that very, very well. It doesn't ask anyone to do anything incredibly special acting-wise, but everybody does a serviceable job. And I just like how everybody seems to realise. I just got a vibe that everybody seemed to realise exactly what movie they were in and exactly how kind of a little bit ridiculous it was.
Okay. And for me, that's very interesting that you say that, because that's kind of how people feel about all these other newer ones where things kind of go off the rails and go crazy. Because if you think this is ridiculous, these are the most grounded movies in the franchise. So if you think this is ridiculous and these people are just kind of going along with what they know to be a ridiculous premise, these movies go nuts. And I think that's why people love them, because they're not afraid to do crazy things. And everybody in them just kind of knows what kind of movie they're doing. And you just go with it and you just have fun with it. So hopefully that way of thinking sticks with you throughout this journey in this franchise. Because, yeah, it gets crazier.
I certainly hope so. And I mean, I've got nothing against completely ridiculous movies at all, especially if the people in them realise they're ridiculous, which is why, it's why like spoof comedies work, right? Because spoof comedies are absolutely ridiculous, but they're supposed to be, and everybody in them realises that. Granted, Fast and Furious isn't a spoof comedy, but maybe by the time we get to, Furious 7 or whatever it's called, it may feel a bit like a spoof comedy to me. But if it feels like,
Perhaps.
but if it does feel like that to me, and I recognise that everybody is still sort of treating it as a ridiculous movie, and maybe even more so because it's way more ridiculous than I could even think that it possibly is right now, then that probably means I'm still going to enjoy it. Because everybody's still just doing the same thing. It's just a bit heightened.
Not a bit.
Okay, a lot heightened. Yes. But everybody's still doing the same thing. And everybody still realises it's a ridiculous movie. And I'm perfectly fine with ridiculous movies. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. It's not the fact that the first Fast and Furious movie is, you know, more grounded, because I also have nothing to compare it to. So I wouldn't consider this necessarily a grounded movie. I mean, yeah, sure, there's not like people flying off tanks and helicopters and landing cars in aircraft carriers and stuff like that. Yet, I believe something like that does happen. There's a few good stunts. In the first one, there's a few good stunts. You can tell that it's way lower budgeted, but that's fine because they don't try and do too much. It all looks perfectly good.
So what did you think about the car stuff and the racing stuff?
Yeah, I'm going to get into that.
Because, that was a big element of the story of the plot of what you kind of knew. The one thing you kind of maybe knew about these movies was the whole car stuff.
Yeah.
So what did you think about that whole element kind of replacing the surfing element in Point Break?
Well, I mean, I have more knowledge of cars than I do surfboards. But that isn't saying a lot. I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of, like some people are really into cars. Our good friend Tom Zambino, really into cars. I'm not. I don't really know. I see a car and I go, oh, that's a nice car. Or, oh, that's a not nice car. I don't know what all the numbers mean. I can drive. I'm a good driver. I can drive perfectly competently. But I don't.
But you can't drive like these guys. We wouldn't see you turning up at race wars in the desert.
Certainly not. But that's also because I don't have any clue about anything like that, like, oh, this has got a... I recognise... I'm not that simple, you know. I recognise, oh, that one has a fancier engine because it's popping out of the top. And it's shining and it's... See, even the words I'm using right now. Shiny.
That thingy. That shiny thingy that's popping out of the top. Yeah.
When has anybody who ever has been a really big fan of cars and that sort of stuff ever called something shiny?
Yeah, the shiny.
Oh, thingy. Shiny. What do I?
Shiny.
What, yeah, well, we might as well start singing the Moana song. Yes, yes, Jermaine Clement. Hi. Yeah. I will look at a car and go, ooh, shiny. No, I'm not that simple. But no, yeah, the car stuff, the racing stuff. I think the racing's perfectly good again. I actually think it's a really well-paced movie.
Yeah, I noticed that rewatching it.
This first one is really fast-paced and it doesn't let up. There's nothing that drags. It keeps its fast pace all throughout it, and I really like that about it. Yeah, like I said, the racing's great. The couple of stunts that are in there are great, and I think that level of stunt is okay. I like that. When it gets a bit more ridiculous, like I'm saying, I just hope that everybody in the movie and everybody surrounding the movie and whoever makes the movie keeps realising just how ridiculous they're getting. I hope there's never that movie in this franchise that goes more ridiculous than everybody's playing it. or even less ridiculous than everybody's playing it. I hope it always stays on this gradual level. And, you know, you're promising me complete nonsense in the later movies. But if everybody stays on the gradual level of, okay, let's go with the ridiculous and keep going with the ridiculousness, and it's getting a bit higher in this movie, guys. Let's just get a bit higher with it. Okay, let's get a bit higher with it, and higher, and higher. And if everybody stays there, it's all good. I just think I just like the more low-key stunts that are happening in this first movie.
Yeah, so you'll probably get that in these first maybe 4, and then be geared up for some craziness. And Tormund shows up as well.
What?
So, Tormund and Missandei show up in this series.
What the hell is Christopher Hivju doing in there?
Yep.
Does he have the beard?
Missandei.
Please tell me he has the beard.
He does.
Why is he in a silly car movie starring Vin Diesel?
He's in the last one. He's in 8.
Oh, well, at that point, I suppose they're not silly car movies starring Vin Diesel anymore, are they? They're silly vehicle heist action movies starring literally everyone.
Yeah.
Including...
See, you know what's going to happen. You're prepared for this.
I think,
you know what? Worried about you.
Truly, I think I am prepared for this. Which is insane. I don't know. Maybe I'm turning over a new leaf. Maybe all the confusion over Independence Day has just been completely put aside. And I've just opened myself up to, okay, let's just be a bit nonsense. Or maybe, yeah, again, that was my problem with Independence Day, is that everybody was taking it way too seriously, and people in Fast and Furious aren't taking it way too seriously, and it works so much better for them doing that. And I just like that.
I agree.
I just like that. Jeannine, is there anything else in number 1 that you particularly love, or that you think maybe you want to talk to me about more?
I do like I do see a lot of the parallels to Point Break. I did like the pacing, everything. They kind of got you into the story right away, got you to kind of introduce you to the characters right away. You understood them. And yeah, like, did you like the whole romance with his sister and how that kind of played into the plot?
I mean, it's probably the weakest part of the movie.
Okay.
I don't think it's as strong as its Point Break equivalent with
I would agree with that.
With Laurie Petty and Keanu. I think that was really good in Point Break, actually. And also comparing to Point Break, obviously the bromance, if you want to call it a bromance, between Keanu and Swayze and Paul Walker and Vin Diesel, I actually found quite similar. Although naturally I do not think Paul Walker and Vin Diesel are anywhere near as handsome as Keanu and Patrick Swayze.
Oh yeah, I'd give them the edge for sure, if not just for hair alone.
Well, yeah, but also even Patrick Swayze's weird beard, which I'm not a fan of. Patrick Swayze is the one person who looks better clean shaven. Imagine what Vin Diesel would look like with a beard. Ooh, that's weird. I've just had a ridiculous thought in my head.
He actually did a movie where he had hair, and it was
no.
Hot, so I could only imagine. Yeah, well, he did a movie called Find Me Guilty where he had hair, and it was very odd.
I'm sorry, but the most hair Vin Diesel has ever had in a movie is when Groot starts growing leaves.
Oh my gosh.
That is the most. Is when, yeah, is it the end of the first Guardians when Groot is a teenager again? Or something. No, it's the end of the second one.
He's in the second one.
It's the end of the second one. where he's in his room playing on his little video game thing that he's always playing on, and all those leaves are around him. That is the most time Vin Diesel has ever had. The most hair in a movie. He doesn't have hair. He's a bald man.
I think that's accurate.
It is accurate. There was actually a strong lack of the word family used in the first movie.
You were expecting more of it.
I was truly expecting, several thousand uses of the word family from Vin Diesel, because I thought that's what happened in these movies.
But I think they took a lot of time to kind of show how his group of friends were like his family. They had the family dinners, and, when he kind of gets left behind, he makes a big deal to say, you're kind of family. How did come you didn't have my back? And
yeah.
So I feel like they tried to press the issue that they considered themselves a family, that group of friends, and yeah.
Maybe it just gets stupid by like the sixth one, and
yeah. Oh no!
You get
family stuff coming out of your ears by the end of the series. So
that's where the joke that I know comes from, even though I have no reference point, and that is often the case. With movies we do or Morgan hasn't seen, I kind of hear things and little inside jokes people have about these movies, and then watch the movies and go, that's where that's from. And it comes off as really simple from my perspective. I mean, people must... I am convinced that this whole show makes people dislike me. I am truly convinced of that.
No.
Despite the fact that I did like The Fast and the Furious quite a good bit. And I was happy with myself.
I enjoyed it.
I was happy.
I was very excited to hear that you liked it.
Yeah, I was happy that I liked it. There was actually certain stuff, certain things in this movie that actually kind of reminded me of the Nick Cage movie Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yeah, there's some vibes from that movie,
which
definitely.
Is also from like the early 2000s. I want to say 2002.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a group of people that are, car enthusiasts,
to say the least, and thieves.
And thieves also, yeah. Even though there's a good deal more racing that's going on in the Fast and Furious as opposed to car theft, which is the entire plot of Gone in 60 Seconds.
Was 2000. This movie was 2001.
Gone in 60 Seconds was 2000. See, I was 2 years off there. It's a good movie.
I'm sure they were a bit inspired because this came out a year after Gone in 60 Seconds.
Quite possibly with the whole group of car enthusiasts situation.
And friends
and family. Mm-hmm. And
family.
Sadly, no Vinnie Jones.
No, afraid not.
I'm surprised Vinnie Jones has never shown up in a Fast and Furious movie. It seems like exactly the kind of thing Vinnie Jones would do. And
there's one that literally takes place in London, and so you mean that would have been the perfect opportunity to have him?
Yeah, but I mean, I suppose they've got Statham, haven't they? Who is kind of,
and they have Luke Evans.
But Luke Evans is not comparable to Vinnie Jones, whereas Jason Statham is. Jason Statham, however, is a better actor than Vinnie Jones.
Yes. I'd agree with that.
Even though they are very, very similar people. Or they at least portray very, very similar people. I don't know them personally. I am sorry to both Jason and Vinnie. Why am I apologising to Vinnie Jones?
Any last words on The Fast and the Furious? Last thoughts, feelings?
Before we get into Too Fast, Too Furious?
Yes.
No, I don't think so. I just had a lot of fun with this, and I'm glad that I had a lot of fun with it. It was a perfectly simple movie. Everybody knew what they were doing. Everybody did it well, and What I like about it is that, yes, it's an early 2000s movie, but Jeannine, it doesn't Men in Black to you and beat you over the head with references from the early 2000s.
Yes. Oh, and what else? You didn't mention how you feel about the look of the cars in these movies.
Oh, they're absolutely horrendous, Jeannine. Now,
Morgan thought the cars in this movie were incredibly ugly.
Oh, they are, though. There's no argument. They are some of the ugliest vehicles I have ever seen in my entire life. I also have to pronounce it vehicle because there is the H in there. So it's pronounced vehicle. Okay. Again, I'm just going to annoy people with my disdain for certain things in certain movies that certain people may love to a certain large amount. But no, the cars are absolutely awful to look at. Can't stand them. Anybody who likes the look of those cars, weird. Sorry. It's just my opinion. I don't have anything against you or your personal opinions or your personal choices in your vehicular life, but bright green and bright orange, go away. Please go away. I actually did like, though, let's redeem myself before we get on to Too Fast, Too Furious, Dominic Toretto's car at the end.
Yeah, so you were into the muscle cars.
I like that. Movies. I like that car because it looks like an old car from like the 70s. It's kind of like, I don't know terms for cars, right? But it's kind of square and it's kind of flat. And it just looks like
and shiny.
It is shiny. It's also black, which helps. And it has one of those weird engine things that comes out the front of it. That looks like Wall-E. Do you not think those things look like Wall-E? With little two eyes.
With the little flaps.
With the little flap things.
Flappy eye.
Which could be Wall-E's eyes, right? Yes, I think I'm onto something. I really do not know anything about cars, by the way, guys.
Yeah,
truly,
I think that's
truly
obvious.
do not.
Except how to say vehicle.
Vehicle.
But just to close out, what did you think of the ending? The let the guy get away because you care, because you've bonded.
Well, it's the exact same as Point Break, even though there was no, greatest wave of all time.
He's going to die anyway on the greatest wave ever.
Yeah.
He's just going to drive away to Mexico or something.
Yeah, I mean, there was no death or kind of guaranteed ending because obviously Vin Diesel is Patrick Swayze in the whole comparison situation. In Point Break, Patrick Swayze was either going to die from riding the Great Wave or get arrested. There's no closure like that in this one, which is good because there's a reason there's now 48 movies. It opened itself up. And a spin-off. Which I do count in the 48 movies, by the way. And the several other spin-offs of, I don't know, this franchise is never going to end, is it?
Probably not, because they are making all the money.
They are making all the money. They do make a lot of money. But no, I like it. It's really very clearly inspired by Point Break in that sense as well. But no, because I ended up really liking Dominic Toretto, I liked the ending because, yay, he got away. He's all nice. They're all friends now. I can't wait to see Vin Diesel in the second one. Oh, wait.
Well, let's get into the second one. But before we watched the second one, we watched the turbocharged prequel short film that showed what happened to Paul Walker's Brian O'Connor character.
Jeannine,
between this film and Too Fast, Too Furious. How did you feel about the turbocharged prequel?
Jeannine, I truly forgot about the turbocharged prequel until right just now.
Well, that's the answer then.
From what I can remember of it, it doesn't actually have any dialogue.
No, not so much.
And it's just basically a music video.
And it just shows how he got from
LA to Miami.
So if you have not heard of this, go look it up online. It's the turbocharged Fast and Furious prequel that shows what happened to Brian between the Fast and the Furious and Too Fast, Too Furious. It shows how he got to Miami. So yeah, I don't know if a lot of people know about this, but I hadn't heard of it until I got like the DVD set, and that was a special feature on there.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
It's such a weird thing. It's something that could have only ever been made in the early 2000s as well.
Yes. So if you're a completist,
I guess. Yeah, completionist.
You should check it out. And I think there's another one, like it's called La Camachos or something like that.
God.
That Vin Diesel directed, and it's kind of an in-between, I think, in between maybe 4 and 5.
Oh, well.
Or in between Tokyo Drift and 4. I have to figure that out, because that's one I haven't seen. But it's like a little short film that plays into like an in-between period of 2 of these movies, which I'm not too sure of. So we'll have to look into that. So we can discuss it the next time it comes up.
If we're going to be true completionists, Jeannine, I feel like we have to watch.
Yes, I think we need to.
I feel like we have to watch every weird interlude short film that there may be.
Exactly.
But yeah,
so
this turbocharged nonsense was exactly that. It was nonsense. It was a 6-minute weird montagey music video of Paul Walker travelling through the southern US, racing in his ridiculously ugly cars.
So yeah, I think it was just to let you know that he is kind of on the run because
yes, that's true. He is on the run.
Criminal go. He let the criminal go, so he's kind of on the run from the police. And yeah, he's just kind of living in Miami, kind of hiding out, making money by racing. And yeah, so that's kind of how it starts out in Miami.
Which links
and
right
we get introduced to
Too Fast, Too Furious.
Too Furious.
Which is actually a great title and is a perfect... And
it's got the twos, the number 2s.
It is.
Directed by the late John Singleton. This is actually kind of my favorite in the franchise.
Okay, well.
Just because, I mean, everybody loves 5. 5 is incredible. 5 is fun. But for whatever reason, this movie just has the most quotability for me. It's just the silliest, most fun for me. Tyrese is hilarious. And like, I really like the pacing of this one as well. I don't know what it is about this one, but I just always have a lot of fun with this one. So, yeah.
It must speak to you on a base level, Jeannine.
It does.
It must speak. Sure. Too Fast, Too Furious must speak to your soul. Maybe it is the genius nonsense of the title of the movie. It's what a great title for a sequel. You don't get stuff like that anymore.
Too Furious.
I'm sick. I'm sick of, whatever it is, whatever's coming out. Toy Story 4. Don't call it Toy Story 4. Call it like something weird. I don't know titles, but
yeah. But no, a lost opportunity with number naming is definitely Shrek Forever After, because it's the 4th movie.
Yeah,
it's got forever. They could have put number 4 ever after, but no, they did not. They just put a regular forever.
Idiots.
Wasted opportunity. Shrek 4, stupid.
Idiots. The diminishing quality in the Shrek franchise towards the end is very noticeable.
Yes.
Or
leave it at
maybe
2
the love.
and call it a day. 2 is probably the greatest of the Shrek.
I mean, it's an art.
As Too Fast, Too Furious is the best of the Fast and Furious movies.
You don't even know why you like Too Fast, Too Furious better. It just speaks
funny.
to you.
Tyrese is hilarious. It makes me laugh. I love John Singleton's direction. It's fun. The pacing is great. Like
it is. Yeah. It is very fun. But also, I feel like I have to say, is Shrek 2 the best Shrek, or is Shrek 1 the best Shrek? Because there's an argument to be
Shrek
had.
2's the best.
I mean, Shrek 2 might be the most
expansion. Fun. The expansion and references of 2 make it the best.
I mean, I can't disagree with that. But also, Shrek 1 paved the way. Shrek 1 was so subversive for again, early 2000s movies.
Shrek 1 was basically a big fuck you to Disney because
it was.
That guy got fired and he didn't like it, so
he made the greatest animated movie of all time.
He did.
Or at least, 1 and 2. Shrek 1 and 2. Okay, I love Shrek 1 and 2 as well. But they are 2 of the greatest animated movies of all time. Screw Toy Story.
But we're not here to talk about Shrek sequels. We're here to talk about Too Fast, Too Furious. Well, then you could go to another show and I'll just have to name it something else.
Shrek Talk.
Yeah.
Morgan Shrek Talk. Nobody's gonna coming soon to It's a Wonderful Podcast.
Boo.
The logo will be designed by Jeannine. It will just be a picture of my face with Shrek ears. You'd do it. Don't lie.
I would not.
Oh,
I refuse.
Boo.
I refuse.
Boo. But yeah, Too Fast, Too Furious is a hell of a lot funnier.
It is. And we do get introduced to some characters who we'll see later on down in the franchise. We get introduced to Tyrese's Roman Pierce.
Yeah, and I really liked him. We
get Ludacris's Tej Parker.
I mean, granted, I didn't really know everybody's name. I will just continually refer to everybody by their actor's name. Just because when I see somebody like that, it's just like, yeah, I'm not going to remember what your character's called, but you're Ludacris. And,
fair enough.
And I'll just recognise, oh yeah, here's Ludacris coming into several more movies.
Yeah, but I mean, this one, he starts as like a guy who owns his own garage. He organizes races, and then all of a sudden he becomes like a super tech genius. So maybe, I don't know what he was doing in between this movie and then going into Fast 5, where he became a super hacker. But yeah,
he'd been to college.
Oh, maybe.
He'd got his degree in computering. He'd been to night school.
Yeah,
that's where Ludacris had been for the past several years. He'd been to night school to learn computing and hackery. Hackery should be a course that everybody should take.
I think so.
Yeah, hackery. No, I've gone off the rails. Yeah, I really liked Too Fast, Too Furious, though. It was definitely funnier. Thanks in all part to Tyrese.
Roman Pierce.
Yes. Who I will also just refer to as Tyrese, by the way. Because I will forget that his name is Roman Pierce, even though Roman Pierce is a great name.
It is a great name.
What a good... I mean, what's Paul Walker called?
Brian O'Connor.
See, that's a bit... That's a bland name there, Paul Walker.
But yeah,
it's not like Dominic Toretto. The only reason I remember Dominic Toretto is because I've not been able to get away from the name Dominic Toretto for the last 10 years. That's the only reason there. And also, Vin Diesel is a daft name. So I actually prefer to call him Dominic Toretto.
But Vin Diesel is not in this movie. Dominic Toretto is not in this movie.
Yeah, and that's what
he did not want to come back for this sequel. So they changed the story up to, Brian, he's on the run. He ends up in Miami. And then he gets kind of spotted by the police in Miami as a great driver, and they kind of pull up who he is, and they cut him a deal that if he like races for them, for this like drug lord guy, then he will get his record expunged. But he needs help. So who does he enlist to help him in this mission to drive for this drug lord?
He enlists Vin Diesel, his buddy. No. Boo.
Just as bald.
Just as bald, not as muscly.
Roman Pierce.
Just as bald, not as muscly, much funnier.
Yes.
Roman Pierce.
So I really liked their dynamic. I really liked their chemistry. It was really fun watching them together.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how Vin Diesel will feel when Vin Diesel sees Paul Walker and Tyrese all buddy together. Vin Diesel's going to be jealous. It's all going to kick off. Vin Diesel and Tyrese are going to get into a fight. It's going to be like a soap opera. I don't need to see that. I just want to see more silliness. So
this movie has an abundance of silliness.
I don't think my pitch went off very well, did it? Nobody cared.
No, not so much.
I'm sorry.
So what did you like about this movie?
I just liked how it was funny. It still felt like a simple movie, which I really liked, even though I think the story of the first one is a lot better. I preferred the first movie, I think, overall, because I preferred the... I think it might go back to the Point Break thing, where I just think the story really works very well in the first one. And the second one definitely feels more like a random early 2000s action movie, rather than something that, rather than a movie that is a sort of staple of an era. I feel like The Fast and the Furious is like, that is a movie that people will look at and go, yeah, action movie, early 2000s, look at The Fast, in 30 years or however long, look at The Fast and the Furious. That's a good example of that. I think Too Fast, Too Furious is utterly mixed in the randomness of everything. I don't think it's necessarily as special as the first one. And this isn't me saying like, oh, the first one is a masterpiece, it should be revered for all time. I just think it's a very good example of its genre in its era. And I don't think I don't think Too Fast, Too Furious is as good, even though
it couldn't play as like any movie. Any movie could have that plot and not be a Fast and Furious movie.
Exactly. Whereas I don't think the first one could, even though there's a Point Break thing, it does. Obviously, it's a lot different. Although I do think Too Fast, Too Furious is funnier thanks to Tyrese. I think he's a great addition. I can't wait to see more of him. And I just was kind of sad that there was no Vin Diesel, and learning also that Vin Diesel kind of didn't want to come back after really liking him in the first one. I wouldn't have cared to, if you'd have told me Vin Diesel didn't want to come back before I'd watched any of these movies, I'd just be like, oh, okay, well, let Vin Diesel do what Vin Diesel want to do. I don't care.
But you actually kind of missed him.
But I actually kind of missed him in the second one. And I kind of missed...
I think...
the little gang of Michelle Rodriguez and everybody. And yeah.
But I think they worked around that well with the story. And I liked that they kind of tried to work in the street racing and that kind of element in this kind of way of, this is how this drug lord wants to get his drugs moved around by fast drivers or whatever.
Yeah.
So I liked the concept of them doing the whole street racing aspect, but in a way that was made it more of like a crime kind of story.
It
as opposed to a racing movie.
It definitely it was, and that's why I think that it could be lumped in with any random action movie.
Yeah.
Because action movies are always about some sort of crime or some sort of drug lord or some sort of thing like that. I mean, look at Bad Boys. That's about Miami drug lords, right?
Yes.
What is ultimately the difference between Bad Boys and Too Fast, Too Furious? There's actually kind of little.
Yeah, now that I think about it.
Whereas, the first one, it knows it's aiming for car enthusiasts, right? And the whole street racing aspect. And yeah, there's street racing in the second one, but like you said, it's got this whole. It's not the central part of the plot, and the street racing is that in the first, really. I mean,
yeah. So this kind of is what makes it like it could be any kind of movie. It doesn't have to be a Fast and Furious movie.
Yeah, and I mean, you get people in this. Obviously, with Miami drug lords, you're gonna get people who are dressed like they belong in Scarface, and you got that. Or some of the I don't know his name, the drug lord himself. Some of his henchmen looked like they should have been cast in Scarface.
I think that was kind of the point with their, gold chains and their open collars.
But it also isn't 1983.
But who knows? Maybe that was the vibe. That's the vibe in Miami.
I mean, if that's still the vibe in Miami, if people are still dressing like Tony Montana, I don't know what to tell Miami, but I think the world has moved on.
And can we just for a second tell people that, hey, if you watch this movie, in the scene when they're in the Pearl Club, just watch some of the dancing extras in the background.
Oh, God.
You will get a nice little giggle watching some of these dancing extras in the background because their moves
I remember
are so
that.
cringy and ridiculous. So, yeah, the scene where they're at the nightclub. Yeah.
I mean,
some of those dance moves.
I don't want to. Is that what Miami's like?
Apparently.
Is Miami just full of people dressed like Tony Montana and dancing like that in nightclubs?
Apparently.
I mean,
that's what you're supposed to ascertain from this film.
I mean, that one dude was doing something to that one girl that should.
Against a wall.
Against a wall that, number one, shouldn't probably be done in public. And number two, don't do it anyway. And number three, he'll probably end up breaking his own hip.
Yes, most likely.
If he's moving that aggressively in a tight space next to a wall.
So I'm just going to tell you.
I feel
people,
sorry.
If you ever watch Too Fast and Too Furious, please look at the dancing extras and you will get a nice little giggle at these ridiculous dance moves and what these extras are doing in the back.
I felt sorry. I felt sorry for the girl.
Yeah,
I felt very sorry for her. She was probably there. She'd come on the day for one set. Come on set for one day.
1 day of work.
1 day of work.
She just has to get humped against the wall.
Who you dance? What am I doing today, boss? Oh, you're just gonna be, extra in this nightclub. Just dance. Oh, great, yeah. Do I have to dance with anyone? Yes, dance with this guy. Okay. Action. Ah, what are you doing? Get off me, weirdo.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for that reenactment of
a day
club goer number 5.
Yeah. Set life with Morgan Robinson.
Yes.
Yeah,
that could be your spinoff show.
Absolutely no experience. No, I still prefer Shrek talk, but still.
Okay.
But yeah, that was weird. I couldn't pay attention to what the hell was actually being said in that particular scene. It was just like, what's he doing over there? Why is he wearing that hat indoors? Why are you doing that? you just look like you're dancing. You look like you should be dancing with someone, but your dance partner has gotten lost somewhere or didn't come into work today, so you're just dancing a 2-person dance with just yourself, and you look ridiculous.
Yeah,
I'm surprised I didn't.
I think it adds to the fun to just watch the extras in that club scene because it's a bit silly.
I'm surprised I didn't see someone dancing the waltz on his own.
Oh goodness!
Just twirling with himself because, yeah, the person who he was supposed to be dancing with didn't come in today, and we have to film this scene, guys. John Singleton's there, just get on with it. We've not got all day, guys. We've not got all day. We have to get 7 more things done today.
Set life with Morgan Robinson.
I mean, it'd be wildly inaccurate, considering I have no experience of movie sets. I do, however.
You sound like you know. You sound like you know what you're talking about.
No, see, I'm faking it all. I myself am a very good actor.
Well, I hope you're not faking how much you enjoyed this film, Morgan.
No, I'm not, actually. Again, pleasantly surprised by my enjoyment of Too Fast, Too Furious as well. Even though I firmly believe the first one, or firmly prefer the first one. Really, really pleasantly surprised by it. I really do think the standout is again, maybe it's just Paul Walker's ability to have a good on-screen friendship with people.
Yeah, he's very likable. So I think that has something to do with it.
He is likable, but I so far in the 2 movies have preferred his whoever his buddy may be, his friend, whoever his friend may be, whether it's Vin Diesel or Tyrese. I preferred Tyrese to him in this movie. I actually really think he's got quite an interesting character because, you know, you meet him and he's all mad at Paul Walker for putting him in prison.
But he didn't put him in prison.
Yeah, even though Paul Walker didn't put him in prison, but he believes that Paul Walker put him in prison and that's all he needs. And then they have that ridiculous wrestling match on the floor.
Yes.
Which is funny.
But I do like how they kind of tried to tie it to the first one where he feels like maybe he did let Vin Diesel go as somewhat of a redemption for what happened between him and Roman.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Vin Diesel, despite not wanting to come back, his presence is always felt.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, they even go as far as to explain like why Roman's always eating everything all the time.
Yeah.
So I mean, I like effort into things like that.
That's kind of funny. That was funny as well.
Yes.
I think that's really the takeaway from Too Fast, Too Furious is the humour, and I hope the humour continues.
It does, for sure.
In the next few movies. Because if there was anything missing from the first one, it was a bit more of comedy, you know, bit of just a little hint, and so maybe they overplayed that in the second one, as opposed to actually telling a story that stood out and wasn't kind of generic, I guess. Generic.
Yeah. And there's kind of like a forced romance in there that's like...
Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah.
The romance in the movies, in the Fast and Furious movies, so far, haven't been my favourite thing.
Yeah, they're a little bit weak.
Wouldn't particularly say they are necessary. I
mean, I think in the first one it's more necessary than this one. I mean, it adds that conflict.
I mean, yeah.
Between him and Dominic, and him really like trying to switch his allegiances because of her.
That's true. That's true.
But this one, it's just kind of like Ava Mendes is hot, and you get some funny jokes from Roman about, you're losing your focus because you're looking at this girl. So that made for some funny jokes. But yeah, like they just have some random kiss when she tries to warn him, and that's kind of as far as that goes. So, I mean, it seemed a bit forced and unnecessary, but I didn't really take away anything for me from my enjoyment of the film.
No, I don't think so. I just think maybe just leave Ava Mendes as the drug lord's, right hand woman. Or whatever it was.
Undercover cop.
Yeah.
She's an undercover cop.
Undercover. See, there's a lot. I don't know.
Did you watch this movie?
I did watch this movie, and I enjoyed this movie. I forget some things. I always forget some things. You know that. Especially when things blend together. I'm just like, what happened in this? I feel like that's potentially going to happen with this franchise, is that there's going to be stuff that blends together. And I must say, one of the most surprising things that I've learnt about the Fast and Furious franchise, thanks to you, the franchise as a whole, I mean, is that the fact that every movie isn't this whole big team of people doing things. Which I thought it was.
That's true. Yeah. No, it starts fairly simple. And then you kind of want to start keeping track of your villains at this point, so you can maybe see how they match up, because I think from this point going forward, you're kind of going to get a villain in each movie.
Okay. Do they all come back at the end as a one big supervillain?
This isn't a video game movie, okay? This is.
Are we that far off?
No, not so much.
Are we that far off something like that happening? From what I'm
just saying, this one has a very distinct villain, and going forward, you're kind of gonna get this one. This guy's the bad guy in every movie, kind of going forward. So just kind of keep track of how you feel about these villains and how they compare. And because I mean, this guy, I feel like they tried to make him way more menacing with the whole mouse torture, rat torture.
Oh yeah, and that was kind of good actually. I actually kind of really like that. I mean, I'm not going to say I enjoy a nice torture scene every now and again, because I don't. I appreciate when movies put something like that in, because it's really
because I don't
dark.
think you were expecting that.
Not expecting something like that. In Too Fast, Too Furious at all, and that's a really medieval way of torturing someone as well. That's
and so I kind of, and even the point of where that happens, it's then once he's kind of onto them, then you kind of do get a little bit scared for them, because this dude is kind of fucked up. So yeah.
It's it's a good movie, and I enjoyed it. I am just actually quite happy, because I was going on forever about how much I was really looking forward to doing these movies. I can't.
You were very miserable about it.
And now, after having watched the first two, you're
slightly optimistic.
I truly am looking forward to doing the rest of them.
Oh, yay.
Even
the plan is working.
Your plan is working. Your plan often works.
It does, because I'm smart.
Yeah. Okay. Even though I am, don't want to say disappointed, just slightly surprised that the movies, the Fast and Furious movies, aren't the big whole team of people doing a different thing every movie. That I thought.
So it's getting to that. It's getting to that soon. But I'm glad you kind of were able to ease into these and see some things that you weren't expecting.
Yeah.
So I think that was a nice, smooth introduction.
A very smooth introduction. I don't know, I was going to create some sort of car pun just then, but as we've already been over, I don't know anything to do with cars, so I would probably say something wrong.
Let's just say we're ready to gear up for the next two movies in this Fast and Furious series, which will be Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift and Fast and Furious.
Oh, God. So in other words, number 3 and 4.
We will not be going in timeline order and shifting the movies around because, as you know, there's a weird, hey, let's make a universe out of this. Let's connect all these movies. So let's hop around in the timeline but still number the movies in weird ways. So we're just going to go in the release order.
I don't know that, Jeannine. You've just confused me.
I have.
I don't.
So all these movies were kind of their own thing. I think they had planned to do like different movies in different locations. So that's when they...
Fast and Furious Argentina.
Yeah, so that's when they did Tokyo Drift. And then Vin Diesel decided to come back. And in Fast and Furious, you end up seeing a character that was in Tokyo Drift. So then you realize that while this is the 4th movie in release order, it actually takes place before Tokyo Drift.
I'm going to get confused, but we'll do it. Yay.
There's a character who died in Tokyo Drift, but he shows up in the movie that comes out after Tokyo Drift.
Well, so that's weird from the studio.
Yeah. So then you realize that movie's a prequel, and that character who died in Tokyo Drift shows up in, I think, 2 more subsequent movies in the franchise that came out after Tokyo Drift. So then you realize that, like, 2 more movies were prequels to Tokyo Drift.
Again, this is weird from the studio. What are they doing?
Yeah, so we will not be watching it in that weird order. We are just going to watch it in the release order.
Yeah, I mean,
that's so we don't confuse Morgan.
Yeah, that's always made the most sense to me anyway. Like, people always bang on about, what's the right way to watch the Star Wars movies? Just watch them in the order they were released. That's how everybody has ever watched them. You don't have to, let's skip number 2, but just watch number 3 and then watch Solo before Rogue One and then Rogue One. I don't just watch them in the order they were released. People could...
That's what I do.
Like, even watch, like, you know how Rogue One and Solo were obviously brought out in between episodic movies, right? Just watch them in between the episodic movies. You've already done that anyway.
Yeah.
That's how it... you're not going to be lost. You're not going to think, why is Darth Vader alive? I thought he was dead because I've just watched The Last Jedi. You're an idiot.
Yes. So.
You can't...
Hence.
Sorry.
We will...
Sorry, guys.
Thank you for that lovely tangent, Morgan.
I just don't see the big argument with watching stuff not in release order. Like, they've been released that order for a reason.
Yeah.
Right?
So I think it was kind of maybe a last minute idea to shift things around. So
sure, maybe, but yeah. I mean, okay, so I guess...
Vin Diesel decided to come back, and so things got shifted. So I think there are 2 more movies that come out after Tokyo Drift that chronologically take place before Tokyo Drift.
So, who is in Tokyo Drift?
Tokyo Drift, there's only one person.
Oh, god damn it, Vin Diesel. Where are you?
So, he appears at the end. In a cameo.
Oh, that's good enough.
Other than that, you get nobody else from the first 2 movies.
Not even.
Because I think that was the plan. I think that was the plan for them to go. I think I remember reading something that there was a plan for them to do separate things that weren't really connected. They just wanted to do something that was with the Fast and Furious name, but like in different places.
I see.
And then when Vin Diesel made the cameo, I think he decided he wanted to continue the franchise, but also connect all the movies.
I see.
So then he did something with a character who died in Tokyo Drift, putting him in the later movies. So then it turned out that those movies were a prequel to Tokyo Drift.
I see.
Even though obviously it wasn't planned because there's like flip phones and technology that, is older than the movies that are supposed to come before it. So you just kind of have to just, okay. I appreciate the creativity you're trying to put here. So yeah, that'll be a very interesting take on this.
I think I may view Tokyo Drift as a spin-off. I think that'll be the safest thing for my brain to do. Just because I think it'll just make sense. That's weird.
So they do quite a few things to kind of change things that you saw before.
Okay.
So I will be here to guide you and explain things.
Yeah,
and,
I do apologize for being simple. I will understand. I will understand one day. And I'm just happy. I really did like these first two movies.
I am very happy too, because I was very concerned that you would just be stuck with your opinion of dumb car movies with Vin Diesel.
Silly car movies starring Vin Diesel.
Sorry.
I never used the word dumb. I didn't say they were stupid. I said they were silly.
Silly vehicle movies with Vin Diesel. So I appreciate that you eased into them well and you enjoyed them and you are positively looking forward to the future of these films. So next week we will be talking about Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift and Fast and Furious, which is considered the fourth one, even though it takes place before Tokyo Drift.
We'll just call it the fourth one.
So it's basically the Fast and the Furious, but it takes all the thes out. So it's just Fast and Furious. And so we will be talking about those next two movies next week in this series.
While I still think that calling the fourth one Fast and Furious is silly and confusing, I would rather it be called that than The Fast and the Furious 4.
Yeah, that's too many words.
The Fast and the Furious Part 4. I miss it when sequels were called The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb.
Oh, goodness.
You know, you had the mummy, then you had the mummy's hand, and then the curse of the mummy. I miss when sequels were called that.
Yeah,
rather than
fun.
Stupid Godfather ruining it for everybody.
Just adding ones and twos. And
the Godfather Part 2.
And...
Thanks for that. That's what it came from. It came from the goddamn Godfather. Stupid.
Yeah.
That's why everything... That's why... Oh.
It has just 2 and 3.
Although, however, in sequel...
Toy Story 4.
In sequel naming tradition, would you rather have Toy Story 4 or the stupid colons that everybody gets now?
Yeah, I don't like
Thor: The Dark World. Nah, just call it Thor.
Colon.
Just call it Thor 2.
Yeah.
Or just call it Thor 2 or The Return of Thor.
Yeah, no. I don't like that.
I like The Return. I always like stuff that's called like that sort of stuff. Jaws: The Revenge.
See, that's a good one.
Star Wars had the perfect ones though. Sequels. Didn't call it Star Wars 2 and Star Wars 3, did they? No, they changed the name completely. They called it Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Completely different titles for a sequel. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
I think sequel naming tradition is weird.
And I like titles. I'm a title person, so Yeah, I miss that creativity.
I like titles as well,
things.
even though I can never come up with titles for anything.
Yeah.
Because
You're no help in naming this show.
I put way too much thought into it. That's why. I never go with my gut, Jeannine, when it comes to title naming. Which is...
I've noticed that when trying to name this show with you, so... Sigh.
Shrek Talk, however, is a great title.
No, that's awful. But, yes.
It's not awful. I was proud of that. Oh.
Nope. So yes, like I said, we will be back next week.
We will.
The next 2 movies, in this series.
With more stupidity.
Not in chronological, but
Stop confusing
order.
me. It's just the third one and the fourth one.
Wait till you see them. You will be slightly confused. So
I'm gonna guess right now. Tokyo Drift came out in 2005, and Fast and Furious was 2007.
Nope.
Boo. That was just a guess. I don't know.
Tokyo Drift was 2006.
2006. They waited 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't do that with a Fast and Furious movie these days. Waiting 3 years with this nonsense. Hello. This is good radio.
It is.
This is most good radio. Jeannine, I think we should probably come to the end.
We should
of what we're doing right now. Thank you, everyone, for listening to another 80 minutes of nonsense from me and Jeannine talking about the first 2 Fast and Furious movies.
About silly vehicle movies.
Silly car movies starring Vin Diesel. I hope I haven't upset everybody as much as I probably did last week. I hope maybe I hope maybe I've redeemed myself with actually liking these 2 movies, even though naturally it wouldn't be an episode of Morgan Hasn't Seen if we didn't go into some sort of nonsense and stupidity and silliness and me going off the rails and getting, twisted up inside my own head like I apparently like to do, Jeannine.
Yeah, that's normal, people. That's normal around here, so...
Yeah, I guess it is. Jeannine, where can everybody find you? What are you up to? What's going on? Fun stuff.
People can find me at Jeannine Dubbing on Twitter and Instagram. You can find my articles, Machine Mondays, on triviasd.com, where I talk about all things Schmodown and me and the machine. You can get some merch of ours at my TeePublic shop, G9 Design on teepublic.com. Yeah. I have a Patreon. Look for me, Patreon, Jeannine LC. I got some silly, fun stuff going on over there. And yeah, you can also hear me guesting on It's a Wonderful Podcast, the flagship show on this feed, along with some other friends who will be guest hosting. So that's fun stuff over there. And
I'm just holding the flag right now. You said it was flagship.
Yes.
Is it?
He is holding a flag. He's holding an invisible flag, people, just so you know.
I have a flag. It's a little white flag because I'm surrendering.
You're surrendering to me because I'm making you watch all these wonderful films.
Exactly. Exactly.
But
yeah. That's,
and yeah, maybe you will see me in some tourneys coming up in the Schmodown team, singles. Ooh. I don't know. Perhaps, maybe both. I don't know.
Schmodown, yeah, go
yeah.
Go and watch Jeannine on the Schmodown. There's always a link to the Schmodown in the descriptions of these episodes because we like to support Jeannine and we like to support the Schmodown because it's great and Jeannine's great. In case you hadn't already realised, I'm definitely the weakest of the 2 on this whole show. So just putting that out there. Just put in that.
This shows your namesake. This shows your namesake, so you can't put yourself down like
the show's title literally is Morgan is Bad. Is it not?
Well, that was what you wanted to name it, as we have discussed. You are terrible with titles. But Morgan.
Yeah, sorry.
Where can the people find you so they can tell you how terrible you are?
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Morgan Has... No, that's not right. Yes, you can find me on Twitter at The Purple Dome with a 3 instead of the E in the... Because, Jeannine.
3 is the magic number.
Yeah. Or on Instagram at just The Purple Dawn. Find me on this show if you really do for some reason like hearing my own, like my voice. I don't know why. Or you can, check out It's a Wonderful Podcast, which, as Jeannine said, is the flagship, or as I like to call, the main show on this feed. And we're having a bunch of guest hosts on these days with talking to me about those good old movies that everybody loves that aren't from the 90s or the 2000s. So I actually know what I'm talking about. Whee! Yay! Because I know what I'm talking about if the movie is from before the 80s. And that's just a fact. That's just a fact. I go from somewhat knowledgeable person to complete simpleton after the year 1990 in terms of movies. But yeah, you can find me on there, and the guests I am having on there are wonderful. And every Friday, new episode of It's a Wonderful Podcast. Every Wednesday, new episode of Morgan Hasn't Seen. This show that you are listening to right now. We always go on for so long because we always go into some sort of stupid nonsense, and we wouldn't have it any other way, though, would we, Jeannine, to be fair?
We would not. It's the best. It's our signature now, I think.
Our signature, our little squiggle on the piece of paper that signs your life away to the devil. By the way, I saw Midsummer.
Case in point, people. Case in point.
By the way, I saw Midsummer, and so should you. It's the best movie of the year. Yeah, that's going to do it, guys, for another episode of Morgan Hasn't Seen. Until next week with Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift and Fast and Furious. Jesus, there's going to be a lot of weird speech and fasts and furiouses and ands and thus. And I'm just going to call it third and the fourth one. Jeannine, you'll probably be on It's a Wonderful Podcast soon again as well, probably. I don't know, we'll figure it out. You probably will be, though.
Yep.
It will be fun. Guys, yes, another episode. Series 4 is off to a stupid start, but would you have it any other
ridiculous start, as per usual.
Yeah, as usual, definitely. But that's going to do it until next time, guys. Jeannine, let's do it. We're very bad at this. Bye.
Bye.